Hello! So this is my final reflection video, which is basically a big overview of Project 4, which is Scratch. And basically Scratch was us understanding what Scratch Nights are and how they're beneficial to performers. So Scratch Nights are used to showcase unfinished work, so you know how well received it is to an audience. And we all individually had to create our own works to showcase back, whether it was on stage or screen, to see how well received it went as an audience and just as a starting thing. So on the brief we got given a big list of things that we could do, and I chose sort of like the monologue / reading, and I decided to do it on stage because I am way more comfortable in front of camera than I used to be, and I've sort of diverted away from stage a little bit, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to stage. I'm going to be on a stage by myself talking about something that I'm passionate about and work to my own timetable because of my own chronic illness, which coincidentally is what my project's on. And I think that worked really well for me, being able to work on my own timetable and being able to work on my own and make my own decisions. That was definitely probably one of the most positive things out of the experience, as well as the actual performance itself. I was actually blown away by how well received it was, because I was thinking, I was thinking that people would think it's just like, oh, it's somebody talking about their own chronic illness and their life for 5 minutes on stage, like how boring is that going to be? But the amount of people that laughed at all the little subtle jokes that I put in there, because I wanted to make them sure that it's okay to laugh at yourself in situations. So I was like telling stories about how my teacher carried me into the classroom when I was 11 because my knee decided to pop, or how nice Calpol tasted when you were a kid, and added a little element of multi-rolling, which admittedly didn't go as well as I planned on stage. So basically I had a chair and a block on stage, which I did want to be 2 chairs, but you know, with limited resources and a full audience watching, what can you do? You need to think on your feet. So chair and block, I sat in the chair, and what I was going to do is I was going to jump between the chair and the block when I was multi-rolling. So like on this chair I was myself, but on this chair I was the doctor. But that didn't work. I ended up not getting up because I thought me getting up and moving, it's going to wreck the flow of everything. So I was thinking like, right, what am I going to use this block for? Because this is just going to be sat here and people are going to be wondering like, why is it there? What's it doing there? But then when my audience participation bit came in, I decided to get Chloe, who very kindly volunteered to share her story, to come up and actually sit on the block. So it still did get used, which I am very happy for. I mean, nobody else took part in the audience participation, but to be honest with I knew my group. I wasn't sure on the first years. I've never worked with them, so I wasn't sure how well they were going to take the audience participation side of things, but I didn't want to drag it out because obviously I don't want people feel pressured to share their stories or whatever because it's private to them. But the block still did get used in the end, so I was looking forward to that, and I was happy about that rather. And I was looking forward to audience participation because I'd already asked Chloe in advance if she'd get up, so it just wasn't dead. But yeah, I was very happy with how the audience participation bit went, because also with it only being one person, it didn't take too long, because last thing I wanted was like loads of hands going up. I was like, I can't answer all of them, I can't get you all up. So you know, that was fine by me. But yeah, did I want more people to join in? Kind of, but also not, because it would have put me on the spot as well to answer their questions and things, and to look at their stories, but I would have been interested to hear them. But I'm very thankful that Chloe came up. And then one thing that I maybe didn't enjoy as much was, or that I could have done differently, was the lack of actual run-throughs that I did. I focused too much on the writing side of things, and when I got asked which one, like whether performance or writing, which one did I want to be assessed on more, and it would have been my writing, because that is the thing I spent the most time doing. I didn't have time for a proper run through of my performance. I didn't have time for like things like that. I was just like, okay, so we'll go with writing, because that is what I've spent the most time doing, redoing my scripts due to technical problems and things like that. So yeah, that's what I had to go with. And if I had to rate the project, I'd give it an 8.5, because I really enjoyed it, but there was just little things and little things that just got in the way. But I did really enjoy doing the project as a whole. And if going forward, depending on what the final project is, I would reuse my influences from this project, because I felt like this is probably the most research I've ever done for a project, with it being by myself. So I can't just ask somebody else, oh, what did they do? Because like, I wasn't working with anyone else. It was literally just me. Like, the only person I needed to speak to was Chloe for the audience participation side of things, and it was just, oh, can you come up when I ask? And she just goes, oh yeah. So it was just all down to me. So I have a clear understanding of all the influences that I used and how I got them. So I would probably take them forward depending on what the project is next that we have to do. I'd take them influences forward to reuse. And then it also gave me a chance, I'm reading off this now, it also gave me the chance to explore chronic illness and pain more, which I probably wouldn't have done, but it actually did a lot for me, sort of like, well, this pain is real and it's valid, and lots of other people experience it, and a lot of other people don't get a diagnosis, and that's sort of the situation that I'm in now. So it really did help, like, looking at different articles of people with chronic illness and different types of them. So and another thing that maybe I could have done better is, I think a lot of the time we were in college, but I think a lot of us could have worked from home. So especially me, but you know, I didn't mind being in college, because you know, I was in there, I was in the headspace, I was in the mindset to just get on and do my work, which I did enjoy the quiet time of being able to just lock in and get my work done. But yeah, it could have benefited my health if I worked from home, and it took away from the early starts. And also, one thing I didn't enjoy, buses. Honestly, this isn't anything to do with the project, but it's a bit of a side rant. But buses were not coming to my bus stop, and I was like over an hour late for about 3 times a week. 3 times over the, like, it was ridiculous. Hopefully next project they'll be a bit better, because I think we are working in groups for next project, so hopefully be a bit better, but was not impressed. But yeah, I give this project an 8.5 out of 10, to be honest, because I really enjoyed it, and then my performance was really well received by everyone, which I did not expect. Like, everyone was laughing at my jokes that I was putting in, and they were just very quick to the point. You had to hear to catch them, and the audience participation worked, and yeah, it just worked really well for me. It's raining very heavily. But yeah, it worked very well for me, working by myself, getting in my headspace, because it also meant that I didn't have to work, it's gonna sound weird, but I didn't have to work with anyone else. Like, I was in my headspace doing whatever I needed to do. I thought, well, this is my influence, that's my influence, she's my influence, he's my influence, and I just got to lock in and get my work done on what I needed, which I think I did really need for this project, just to do something off my own accord, something that I'm passionate about and I can work with, which was really nice to do. And in the future I would use my other influences to look beyond solo work, so like as a group, or as a group work, or as a work as an entire class, or even if I had to do it solo again, I'd probably look at them influences and beyond to find who influenced them, or who the starting influence was, and everything else. And I also, on the back of that, it was how I would also adapt the other influences to work as an ensemble, as well as solo if I had to do a scene by myself again. But I think overall I should have included more about the effects on my chronic illness, and I did do a bit of verbatim, but I did completely lose my headspace in that. I started losing it when I started talking about my verbatim and things like that, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, it wasn't exactly verbatim, it was just an interview I conducted, but I didn't really explain that. Like, I sort of lost my train of thought, and I was like, I can't just read from my script now, I've been doing really well. So I was like, you know what, I'll just wing it. So I went without my script, and I just kept looking down occasionally. I was like, yeah, well, Jess said this and she's been on a whirlwind experience, like, because I put whirlwind in brackets because that's exactly what Jess described it as. So I was sort of just looking, I was like, as a whirlwind experience, and she told me that because I had an interview with her, so I just kept looking up and down. I was like, oh. But yeah, no, I think it went really well despite missing a couple of little bits that that I was unsure of, and to learn my script within about 2 days was actually really good for me because I don't normally learn a script that quickly. But yeah, this is my final project overview on the Project 4 Scratch, and I cannot wait for the final one.